Hello, and welcome to the Lucidist podcast, where I explore everything because I believe everything is connected to everything else. I also believe in the infinite, unbounded potential within each of us. And right now, I'm exploring my ability to do a 1,000-piece puzzle on my own. I've done them before with people, but never on my own. And we're going on maybe 6 months on this. Granted, there are weeks and weeks that go by where I don't even look at it, but we're doing it anyway. So here you see all these pieces, and they're all connected. They will all be connected at some point. And I want to point out, you see this one right here, this missing piece? I even had my son come look. I truly, you know how you always say, oh, I must be missing a puzzle piece, and then you get to the end and you're not missing it. I have searched for that piece and it just does not here. I swear my son also did, and he's like, I think you actually might be right. I think this time you might actually have a puzzle that is missing a piece. So we'll see if we find that one. There's an interesting thing when I stand here and I look at things, and then, I'll find like one or two and then I'll walk away. Then I'll come back a few days later and I'll suddenly like pick up a piece and put it right where it goes. And I'll think, it's almost like my brain knew it was there, but I didn't get the message. I don't think that's going to happen this morning because I worked on it last night and I got this whole lower part of the eye here, this little corner. So usually when I get a lot of pieces, the next time I come back, I don't. But we'll see. Maybe I'll surprise myself. Maybe having you here is like a little bit of luck. Anyway, I woke up this morning with this thought, kind of this understanding, or I guess it's a reflection of myself, and I'm seeing myself engaging with life in a new way. And it's a little bit interesting. It has me a little bit, not alarmed isn't the right word, but maybe concerned is the right word. So I would say, I think I brought this up. I know I was talking about it to my son recently. I can't remember if I talked on the podcast about it. But the words that came to me were fighting to live, dying to live. And I feel like I'm dying to live, meaning whatever process I'm going through right now is very much a death process, which is not new. I've gone through them before. But I feel like energetically I've somehow always fought to get through the death process, and have gotten through, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there may be another time in my life where I fight to get through it. Right now, I really feel like I'm dying and that I'm dying. That I'm not fighting the dying. Oh look, I got two. I'm not fighting the dying. See, isn't that funny how randomly just picked up some piece over there and I find a home for it. That doesn't always happen. You'd think it should, it doesn't. Anyway, but that I'm actually just letting the dying happen. In the last, I guess I buried my mom 5 days ago, and have really just sort of put all of the things I normally do aside. I was actually shocked that I did anything with the puzzle last night. It happened just spontaneously. I just saw it and walked over. But, all of the things that I love, and it's not that I don't love them, but, my exercises, my guitar, my singing, just all the other things that I really are an important part of who I am and my journey and what I love to do. And I don't think they're gone by any means. But I haven't, I don't know. This is going to be a long, rambling one. Not only that, but talking and doing this at the same time, it doesn't seem like I have the same focus. I'm putting things together that don't even go. But anyway, okay, so the energy was, I feel like I'm dying to live. I'm dying to live, and I'm actually dying. Not that I haven't died in the past. I can't quite figure out the difference, but there is a difference, and I can feel it. I have somehow fought through the dying process in order to die, to live again, in then whatever new form that I had taken. And this time, I feel like there's absolutely no fight. Not that there couldn't be, but it's more like there shouldn't be. I feel like something inside of me is like, don't, there's no fight in this one. Oh, that's what I wanted to share. There's this great quote. I won't get it right. I wish I could get it right. It's by Deng, D-E-N-G. I think it's Ming Mao, M-I-N-G-M-A-O. And it says, the moon does not fight. It does not worry. It does not try to crush others. It does not something. But by following its own path, it gently influences. And I have had that quote on my phone for a long time, And I would just read it. I loved it, but, whatever. And then it was the day after my mom's passing, and I suddenly thought of that quote, and I was like, oh, I think it's time. I think that's where I am. I think that's what is going to happen this time. And it's just been such an interesting week of actively allowing and experiencing this dying. And it has been a very active process. I've been very aware of it, very attuned to it. I think I've actually also been involved in it with the podcasts I've done, the different journaling I've done. But there's no part of me that needs to fight it. Maybe that's it. Maybe those are the words. There's no part of me that needs to fight this. And I don't know why. Maybe that's, I guess I don't like to say that somehow I've matured into this place, because I also know that in a heartbeat I could find myself back in, back in the fighting place. So I think what the best I could say here is I currently am experiencing a new way of dying to live again. And that is, there's no fight. I would say in the past, when I was dying to live again, I was in a space where I needed to fight to live again. And that just isn't it. And it's just very fascinating to me to be in to have this new experience. And I also feel a little bit lucky to have a clear presentation of the difference. And I hadn't thought about it till this morning, but I have another friend going through her grieving process, and she's very much in the fighting to live again, which I recognize. And so it's made it even clearer to me that, oh, I'm not. Look, I got another one. Two little twos. that I'm not in that fighting space. Again, no judgment, just a new experience, one that to me feels it's scarier. I definitely would say it's scarier for me. But at the same time, there's been a relief in it that I don't have to fight. I don't want to fight as much as not that there's never a time to fight. It's 100% there's a time to fight. But there is a relief in me right now that this is not one of those, and that there is a space for me to rest. And that almost like it's okay. Like this surety and this knowing. Although I have to say I am nervous and scared because I've never done this, and part of me is like, it's the fear of dying is, what if I never come back? What if I never come back to life? What if I never come back to the things I love? What if what if it's all gone? What if I totally die? What if it's just all gone and then I'm nobody and nothing and da 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 da. I mean, death is not obviously the death of the body. Haven't experienced that in this body, but even these, sort of midway deaths that we have, many deaths, or at least many deaths that I have, they can be equally scary. I guess the interesting thing, maybe what I've come to realize is that, and I think I said it in my affirmations recently, that grief washes away that which can no longer live. And maybe what I'm feeling now is the true knowing in the body that whatever is dying here can't live, and so no amount of fight is going to keep it alive. And to just, I may lose parts of myself or my life that I really love and wish that I could keep, but if they can't be kept alive, then there's nothing I'm going to be able to do to make that happen. I'm pretty sure this goes in this corner. But it's annoying to me because I think it's going to go like this. I wish I could get something to fit down in here. Do that. Oh my God, look at that. Ooh, did you guys see that? I can't even tell what you guys can see. Got it. I kind of felt it went down there. Anyway, so today if you're going through some kind of death cycle of your own, to ask yourself maybe which place are you in? Is this a time where it's time for you to fight to live again? Like that there's a fight that's necessary? Or is this a time where you truly need to die into the process and trust what remains alive? Why does that matter? I don't know that it does. I think it's just, for me, it's just interesting to notice the different experiences. And maybe it is helpful to have some identification there. Maybe it becomes a different process for you when you understand which of those is needed, and then try to lean that way. If it's a time to fight and you find yourself not fighting, like reminding yourself, hey, I'm clear that this is a time for me to fight to live again. Or if it's a time to really, let it die away so you can live again. Maybe those, they often help me when I kind of get clear on something, to remind myself to, oh, that's right, I'm dying to live again. It's okay to let this be, as much as possible, to let it be its own thing, so to speak. See, now I'm just gathering all these. I mean, there's so many that have similar colors that I can and do get lost just trying to find. The other thing that's interesting, I seem to have, not always, but there seems to be like this initial burst. What would be funny is over there you guys can see something that I can't see, and you're like, put them together, oh my god, I can't watch this, put them together, why can't you see that? Which isn't that just how all of our lives go? You can see someone else's life and just be like, oh my god, would you get it together, can't you see? And then in your own life you're walking around blind. But it seems like there's like a burst, initially, and then kind of a serious waning before we find something else. But so that was it. It was just this moment of feeling an energy I haven't felt before, and recognizing that I was engaging with this process in a new way. And that there is a part of me that's scared and unsure. Like if I really die to live again and I don't fight it, will I be okay? Will I like what's on the other side? Will I be able to grieve whatever is lost? Or will I be able to put myself back together into some kind of cohesive narrative that can live whatever the next chapter of my life is? And wouldn't I love to know that? I mean, wouldn't we all love to know what the next chapter of our life is going to be, so we could prepare for it? As though we could, we never could, but of course I like to think that it would be helpful if I knew. It never would be. It never would have been helpful if I knew. Because I think I would have I just would have gotten in the way. Right? If your life brings you difficulties and you knew it, you would probably have just made a big mess of it before it even arrived. Just trying to get away from it. Although it could be helpful if, that whole thing, if the future self came back and said, hey, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay until, it reminds me of that when I was in India and I think I've told this story on here before, but it's still one of my favorites. We're in India and we're trying to travel, and there's like different provinces that we're driving through. We have a driver and we're up in the northern part of India, and it's on I don't know if it was like a Sunday or a holiday, and everything was closed that day, but we had to get our transport papers or whatever stamped. Like as you move through the provinces, you have to get them stamped, and it was closed, and we were trying to figure out how to find the constable, I don't know, whatever they're called, and to get it stamped so we can drive through, to get where we're going. And, we're kind of getting stressed out, like it's taken a long time, it's been a few hours, and we're just like trying to figure this out. And the driver looks at us, and he'd been to India. They have like the bobblehead gung, 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 the ball will head back and forth, which is their way of kind of saying yes, good, okay. And he shakes his head back and forth. It is okay. Everything is okay. And you could tell we were kind of worried. And he said, do not worry. Everything works out in the end. And if it does not work out, then it is not the end. I've never forgotten that moment. I was like, that's probably the best wisdom I've ever gotten in my life. Everything works out in the end. If it is not the end, and if it does not work out, it is not the end. And I was like, that's pretty much sums up life. Like, everything works out in the end. And if it does not work out, it is not the end. I could say that for the rest of my life and it'd make me laugh. It's just so funny. Yeah, anyway. So, it'll all work out until if it doesn't work out, then it's not the end. So I guess I'll keep going. That's a good one. That's probably what I should write and put on my fridge right now. Everything works out in the end. If it is not the end, if it has not worked out, it's not the end. Nice little new color scheme going on here. These will somehow come together and be some part of this octopus, this ginormous octopus. I have to say, when I bought the puzzle, I didn't really look carefully. But there are literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16 legs on this octopus. I'm like, there's 16 tips. There's 16 legs on this octopus. I don't really know who thought that was a good idea, but it's fine. It's cool either way. But one day when I looked at it, I was like, how many legs does this thing have? And I was like, why did they give it 16 legs? So 8 isn't enough. So I have a, double-legged octopus. This majesty right here has 16 legs. Okay. Interesting podcast, but I think it's relevant in recognizing when it's time, when you're fighting to live, and if that's what you need, when you're dying to live, and that's what you need. I would say, if I had a preference, it would probably be this way, that I'm dying to live. Probably just because I'm so exhausted from the fight, but I would say it's become easier for me. The fighting to live has become easier because I've done it so much. And I think our culture supports it better. That we like to see people, getting out there, fighting, getting into it. Like, yeah, she's like getting into it again, and she's da 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 da. Like, that's very much praised, I believe, or at least in my little neck of the woods. But I just don't feel like it. So to trust, all the times when my body has said, get up, go, move. It's time, you're going to make these things happen, through the wisdom of the physical body. And now my body is like, hold still, relax, rest, stretch. Not really. I have been doing some stretching, very little, but the stretching I've been doing is just like these long holds in kind of strange positions where something will be like, something in my hip or my leg or my back, and it's like some weird position. It's like, yeah, stretch and lengthen that out because it's ready to let go. So I've been finding myself in the weird positions, just kind of holding something, stretching it out, letting it release and relax and let go. And okay, so that's a great That's a great example. So now I'm starting to see it as I'm blabbing away. I want to like apologize to everybody that's watching this, but hey, if you're watching this, then maybe you're in a similar space. Um, so when I needed to get on the witness stand for the pretrial and testify, I was beyond terrified, and I knew that I was going to go through a pretty radical transformation. It was horrible, and the big message to me was my body, my mind, everything was like fight, 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 fight. You are going to fight through this. You are going to push through this. You have to do this. You know, I remember my workouts were super long and super aggressive, and the music I listened to was like, all these strong female fight songs, and just like, so for months I prepared and I got myself there, got on the witness stand, and I mean, it was a fight. And I learned so much through it. I learned so much through the whole process, through my body and my mind, and really pushing hard and pushing through things I didn't think I could handle, whether that was physically or emotionally or mentally, and getting up on the witness stand. And it was interesting because after it was over, there was an immediate shift where my workouts took on a different tone. The music I listened to completely shifted, blah, 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 blah. And then I remember recently, well, it happened a while ago, and then I started it again. It was like a few weeks, the weeks leading up to my mother's death. There were times when I would work out, and they were still, they're still strong workouts, but I'm listening to choral music like the old Gregorian chants, or like just these, yeah, and all in these different languages, all this old choral music from in different languages. Um, And I would kind of laugh to myself because I think if people knew that I was doing this workout listening to this choral music, they'd be like, the hell is she, like, who does that? I don't know. So, in a way, that's kind of how, I've been feeling lately anyway, these last few weeks, is just like kind of slowly toning things down. Um, so knowing me and my body, and how my body is such an integral part to my journey, and I learned so much through it. So I'm learning a lot about this dying to live, releasing so many things, I don't even know what. Um, and I'm curious how long it will go, when it might say again, okay, get up. I told myself every morning, I was like, okay, I'm going to go tomorrow. I'm going to go tomorrow. And then every morning, it's just like, no. And I would say if you're the type of person where it's always no, you might need to put a little fight behind it. I mean, if you feel called to go do something and you never do it, you might need to be more in the fight zone. If you're someone like me where you always do it and you suddenly aren't doing it, well, it's probably a time to listen to that. So, anyway, so fighting to live. I have totally done that many times. And it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it because you learn to push through things you never thought you could. You learn to do things you never thought you could. I mean, if you had told me years ago that I'd get on a witness stand in the court and testify about the rape, I would have said, never, never. You will not get me there. So, and now I look at it and I'm like, it wasn't so bad. I might have to do it again. I mean, I'm not looking forward to it, but it's also not the end of the world. So these damn things with the legs with the lines. I mean, there's so many of these. I think they're going to take forever to try. They're just crazy because there's so many. Yeah, skin. I don't know. Oh my God, with those two, That's weird. How did I never see those two? They've been here forever. That's the other weird thing is sometimes you'll come back and you'll be slip two things that were sitting right next to each other and you'll be like, how the hell did I not see that? Anyway, so I don't even know where I was. Probably doesn't matter. This is mostly just for nobody or somebody who loves puzzles, somebody who thinks it's funny when, oh God, that almost wants to fit. Don't you hate that when you find one, it's like, it almost wants to fit. It doesn't. It says, nope, I was just kidding, just seeing. If you were paying attention, I feel like bees, so close. The bees will somehow be friends. Somehow be friends. All right, let me summarize this because I think I'm done with the puzzle. If anyone can see this one, let me know. It's like just like a light blue. No lines, no nothing. Just light blue. I can't find it. So dying to live requires complete allowance, acceptance, awareness, and being actively participating. I was trying to think of A's. I wasn't trying to do that, but it just happened. So allowance, acceptance, awareness. Part of that awareness is being active, meaning being an active part of dying. And honestly, I believe, having watched and been with my dad when he died, having watched and been with Christine when she died, just kind of feeling my mom through her death process, I believe it isn't, you are actively participating in your death. At least in kind of the slower, prolonged deaths, there is an active participation. And who knows, even in instantaneous deaths, it may be instantaneous in this realm, but there may be an active participation in another realm where time is not the same. But I do believe there's an active participation in death, and certainly in sort of the many deaths we go through in our life cycle. So dying to live is seemingly passive, but there's a lot of things happening energetically, emotionally, mentally, less so for me in the physical realm. And then fighting to live, I would say that one takes determination, commitment, perseverance. You have when you're fighting to live, you just have to persevere through all of it, again and again and again and again. And we'll see. I don't know what more I'll learn from this space I'm in right now. There might be a lot more to learn about dying to live than I yet realize. I kind of wonder if, I just had this thought, when you're fighting to live, you put so much into it, on the front side that it's like when you finally get to sort of like the peak, it's all downhill. Like you've done all the work and you're just there and you're just like, I did it. And this feels like a very different experience because I'm dying to live, but there's no like sort of pinnacle moment. And I wonder if this is sort of my downhill. This is my downhill, and that sort of when I finish the Dying to Live, that they'll have to do the big uphill fight. Maybe that might be it. Honestly, maybe this is just kind of a reversed process where instead of fighting, and then sort of fighting to live, and then having the rush of dying to live, maybe it's just maybe that the dying to live has happened on the other side, and I didn't really recognize it because I'd already done so much hard work, and maybe this time I'm like dying to live. It's like relaxed, allowing state, and then I still have the fighting to live to come. I don't know. I'm making that up, but could be. It could be, and that's the thing is, nobody's ever gonna have your experience. Nobody. And although we can kind of look for overlap, and learn, I think the biggest thing we can learn from each other is how to learn. How does like you could get a puzzle, and it's going to teach you something totally different, totally different. This one has taught me a lot of patience. Like it takes time to put a life together. It takes time to put, honestly, this has been a big part of my book. It reminds me that there's 1,000 pieces of my book, and I'm going to have to very slowly figure out how it goes together. And sometimes I get frustrated, especially like when I find a new piece of the book that I never looked at before, and I'm like, oh shit, well, where does this go? And it's like, I don't know. But relax. It goes somewhere. Just set it aside for now. You'll figure it out. So this has been teaching me a lot about my book and having patience with that. So what I'm saying is the greatest gift we could give each other is just sharing how we learn. I think what we learn is interesting, but maybe not as much because there are plenty of people that learn things that I really don't resonate with at all. But I may be like, oh wow, that's a cool way of learning. I could use that in my life. That could help me learn what I need to learn. So hopefully, maybe there's some of that here with you. Those are some interesting ways that she's using to learn. I might be able to use those. I should quit. I'm starting to pull too many colors in. Although this one really does look like it goes here somewhere. It's the perfect color. That's the other thing I've learned is that so much of this puzzle in particular, I know many puzzles, but particularly this one, if I can find the colors, I'm on a good, I'm going good. And then I just kind of leave colors together. And that's the other thing, there's so many colors. When I first looked at this puzzle, I saw about 6 colors. And now that I've gotten to know the puzzle, I've begun to be able to identify like very, very different, distinct greens and blues and the golds and the yellows, the gold and the yellow and the browns. I mean, they're just like all so different to me now. My brain has gotten very good at going, oh no, that's that green. I'm like, oh yeah, that green goes over here. And that's that green. So, we start to learn the things we need to know to get where we need to go when we spend time looking at it and go, oh, that's what I needed to know. Oh, that's what I needed to know. So this morning, I think what I needed to know was I am in the active process of dying to live again. And that is it. And to trust, which I don't yet, but to trust that when the time is right, I will get up and go about life again. And not that I haven't been doing anything, but certainly don't feel myself. I don't feel myself. I don't feel like myself. And, and one of the reasons that's alarming, I mean, first of all, death is scary anyway, but I feel like for me, sometimes it can be doubly alarming because I have struggled with such depression and the suicidal ideations I had for a while. But when I relax into this, there's none of that. And so, but I still have kind of that fear, like, oh, what if I never, what if I, what. And maybe that's part of this death, is finally just going, no, if I lay down and rest, I'll get up again. This is not that. That's an old story, and it's a done story. It's also kind of a dumb story, even though it was one of mine. I love myself, but I don't have to think that every story I've ever had was really that interesting or great. There are plenty of them that were sort of ridiculous. But it was what I could do. What I could do. Oh my gosh, I had this really interesting. I know I talked briefly about shame and blame in my last podcast. I was talking about having a water cleansing ceremony. And I got a text from someone right after that. And I don't think they'd seen my podcast. And I hadn't been talking to them about this. It was just a bizarre kind of moment, whatever. And they said, what would you reclaim if shame was not in the room? What would you reclaim if shame was not in the room? And I actually did a whole journal thing about it because I found the question so stimulating. And there were many things. It was great. I loved it. It was really great exercise for me. But I realized at the end, the main thing is I would reclaim me, like all of me, all of my experiences, all of my behaviors, all of my everything. Like I would just reclaim it all. And so that's, this morning I was just like, oh, look at that. I found 2 more. No idea where they go. I've been thinking they go up here, but they never do. Where do they go? Anyway, 2 more. Reclaiming me. If there's no shame, then there's no, I was just like, oh, if shame leaves, well, actually, okay, here, I'll tell you how I learned it. First, I invited shame in the room, which isn't hard. Shame has been a big part of my life, so just come on in. I know you're here. Come on in, let's chat. So I talked to shame, and I said, when you're in the room, this is how I feel, this is how I behave, this is how I act. And then I said, okay, out of the room, sent shame out. And then I thought, oh, now I don't need, so I did the one way to help me do the opposite way. So I could have like a clear feeling and presence and knowing of what it was like both with shame and without shame. And then when shame left the room, I was like, oh, look, I found another one. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I am a totally different person without shame in the room. Totally different. And it's actually more me, which wasn't like an exciting moment, so to speak. I was like, oh shit, that means that like people are going to see like kind of these sides of me that I even don't really appreciate, but there they are. Anyway, so that's, if you want to learn that one, you could try that prompt that someone offered me. What would you reclaim if shame were not in the room? When shame is not in the room, you know what I do? I prattle about my mouth while I try to put my life back together. And I make tiny little inroads. Then I go, not bad, that's enough. We'll try again tomorrow. Or in a week, or in a few weeks, we'll get back to this. Who knows? But I do think I'm starting to get, it took forever to get some of this first stuff, but I feel like I'm starting to get enough that things are gonna, how you sort of get far enough that then things fall into place. And that's honestly how I feel about my life. I think that's another reason I've been okay with, oh, look at that, I got another one. Oh, look at that. Oh, shit, I wish I knew where that went. I think that's another reason I've been okay, more okay with Oh, look, there's another one. See, that's kind of cool when that happens, is you kind of know that these are related. Like, you guys somehow go together. But I don't know how, but I can see that I can see that you do. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I think that's also one of the reasons I'm able to have the experience I'm having right now, that I'm able to die to live again, is that I feel like I'm so close to being able to move forward in my life in a way that I have not been able to and have been working so hard for. So there's part of me that is reassured going, yeah, but I know we're close. I know we're close. I just, and honestly, it's, meditation taught me a lot about this. And if you talk to anyone who's done long-term meditation, especially, and does long sits, which 10 days is not really considered long in the meditation world. But even in the 10-day retreats I've done, there's a time where you finally give up. You truly surrender. And there's nothing great about it. You're like, God, this fucking sucks, It's just whatever. I'm the worst meditator in the world. You just fine. And you sit there in just like complete agony and despair and just all the things. And then you get up, and either in that hour or the next hour or a few hours later, you suddenly realize, oh shit, everything changed. Everything changed. Like, and you can't just always do it. It's not like it's not like the magical thing. You don't, like, there are times in meditation where you have to fight too, where you're like, you've got to sit through this. You have got to, plow through, and then there are times where it's like, the only thing you could possibly do right now is completely surrender. And so you do. But I feel like that, that is a little bit of how I feel, is that I'm close to something that I've worked hard for. I don't know what. I got another one. It's really much fun. I should do this more, honestly, because it's just nice to be able to say that when I say that for someone to hear it instead of doing it by myself. Although honestly don't know, this could be incredibly frustrating to watch. I've never watched anybody fuck around with a puzzle before. Or it's just comical. I could see like somebody taking this and making some meme about, look at this idiot. She can't put her puzzle together. I have the whole goddamn thing figured out in my head, and she does not know what she's doing. But then again, there is shame. And since I'm really no longer interested in shame, it's okay if you do that. I will say, yep, I am not a puzzle master. I am a puzzle putter together. For as long as it takes. Because why not? Why not? I'd really like to find this one. I'd really like to find that one. I'm pretty sure that one's gone. I'd like to find that hole. I don't care so much about that one. It's new. All right, well, there you go. It's my beautiful 16-legged octopus. And dying to live, fighting to live. I'm going to give neither one of them a judgment or a score. I'm just sharing that I'm in a space I've never been before. Dying to live in a very active, aware process. And if you are fighting to live, and that is working for you, and that's what you need to do, keep fighting. I promise there's always an end. It always works out in the end. And if it has not worked out, it is not the end. So with that man's brilliant wisdom, I bid you adieu.